Hey everyone, Andrew here. Yeah, and it's another wonderful day. It's actually 11, just after 11 a.m. when I'm making this, and it's looking about the same as it did a few hours ago. It's just this beautiful blanket of cloud cover. Living up here in the mountain area, you get a lot of clouds up here. I often say that the clouds just love they love the mountains. They just hang around big time. I have friends sometimes tell me that it's a nice, beautiful blue clear sky where they are, and they're not very far away, still in the same state. And I'll be looking outside thinking, wow, I can't see that at all. But the blue sky is always behind the clouds, and I always remember that. So yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful experience. I've gotten some great photos out here of clouds over the mountains, and I mean, plus being out here too, it's so wonderful with the wildlife. I mean, it's spring now, and I'm very excited about this because I'm hoping to see this again this year. I think I saw a bowerbird last year mating, right? And it was very, very funny because I saw it down in the garden. I didn't have a camera, I think, with me. It would be kind of funny to share this because I've told this story to friends. And the male had come down, and he did this like little show sort of thing. I think it was bowerbird. I'm not sure. Looked like from the distance. He did a little show for the female, and then they mated, and that was kind of funny to watch actually. Just see that. But what was funny about it really was when he finished, his little thing going on there. He walked around the female like with his chest out, just like really just all chuffed, and he really really was chuffed with himself and doing a little dance around her, like look at me. And gosh, it was very funny. So I actually hope to see that again this year because that was very funny. Yeah, wildlife can be great, with all sorts of things. So you see a lot of wildlife out here. So uh, now in this video, what I am going to talk about is mental health issues in general. Number one, I'd like to say, when we talk about mental illness or mental disorders, people say that you have this or I have this, or you're diagnosed with this. I'd like to clarify what we're talking about here because I think it's very unhelpful a lot of the time. And I can tell you that from personal experience, that you're given a pathology by somebody, say you are this, rather than you're experiencing this. And you might think, well, what is the difference? Well, it becomes a part of your story. You start going and telling everybody, I'm this and I'm that, and you live into that story a lot of the time. A lot of people do this. A lot of people do it. I got caught up with it. And it's not helpful because you aren't that. You're experiencing that. And again, from personal experience, I experience those things and I don't experience them at all anymore. So am I that thing, or was I experiencing that thing? Those symptoms. And that's the other thing too. These are symptoms that you're experiencing. Whatever they are, we call it anxiety and the things that go along with that, and what happens in a physiological level. You might sweat and all these things. These are symptoms. Same with depression, the symptoms of that, and the various other different mental health issues that are out there. But I mean, I don't know all of them. I'm not an expert. I'm in that area. I don't know all of the different health issues out there, but I know a lot of them are symptoms. Okay, but what we've got to look at is the causes. Okay, and when you go to a lot of therapists, and look, well-meaning as they are, and I know from personal experience again that they don't always get to the core of what the problem is, or if at all. They don't even try a lot of the time. I mean, I've seen psychologists, counsellors, and psychiatrists. And psychiatrists, I feel personally, not trying to put them down, I don't really have a lot of faith in them, and I don't like their approach. I don't like the medication aspect. Now you can say it's personal bias, that's fine, I have no problem with that. And I'm not telling anybody to not take medication, okay? Because that could be very serious and dangerous to just try and stop something, okay? Don't do that if you're taking medication. Like, I have a belief. I really do have a belief that people can get off of medication and get better. That's my belief. You can call it that. But I'm not in any way telling anybody to do that. I'll make that clear. So what happens though? Let's talk about in terms of psychiatry. Is you present with these these symptoms. I'm feeling this. This is going on. This is what I'm thinking. Whatever it is, and then they'll say you are this, okay, and then they'll say what we can do about that is give you these drugs. Now I don't know about you, but that doesn't really seem to be doing anything. That's like it's like putting a band-aid on a flesh wound where your limb's nearly hanging off. It's not going to do much. Yeah, you might stop the bleeding a little bit if you put a few hundred band-aids on there, but you haven't really got to the root of the problem. It's maybe not the best analogy because it's a little bit more deeper than that with the human psyche. Is why are you presenting with these symptoms? Whether you go to a psychologist, try and help a little bit more, and there are methods such as CBT, a lot of you be familiar with, and I'm not going to say anything against it. I know it helps a lot of people, but to be honest, through the research I've done, it has diminishing returns since it's been being used in practices for decades. And look, if you're getting benefit from it, great, it's fantastic. Some people do. In my opinion, it seems to be people of milder type things generally, not always, but generally. But a lot of people have done that and said, I didn't help me. And now the reasons being, again, it's coming back to symptoms. And they'll talk through things, I'll ask you some things, which are relevant, of course, about your family and friends and your life and all sorts of stuff. And that is key information, just to help sort of, become an investigator into your mind. Because what I've discovered is that it's these people, as much as well-meaning as they are, they're guides to our mind. That's what they should be. They should be trying to help us, draw forth the solutions to our issues, because you know better than anybody else what's going on inside of you. Now, you might, on a conscious level, say, I don't know, I don't understand this, what's going on for me, and that's on a conscious level. But when we get deeper into the mind, into the subconscious, that's where the truths are. That's where the solutions are. That's where the problems are as well. It's all there. It's all together, and it's within you. So we need to draw that forth. We've got to get that out, bring that out. And I've heard recently someone talk about subconscious mind, which was interesting. I hadn't heard this before. That the subconscious mind is designed, or an aspect of it is designed to store traumas and things like that, to keep them out of the conscious mind. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but I can see some reasoning to that. Of course, that does filter out still into the conscious mind eventually, but it's just, and then some people it's very real in the conscious mind quite a lot with repetition, thoughts and stuff. But they're still coming, those things are still coming from the subconscious, okay? I do know that. So what do we do then? We've got these symptoms. So you might say, I'm feeling this, or I'm experiencing this. So where did it come from originally? Now, there's a lot of thoughts about this. Some people say it's genetics. And, well, I've got something to say about that. And I'm not saying that there hasn't been perhaps some proof to that to some degree. Not really, though. I think it's very wishy-washy, because when you look into the science of, if you're familiar with this, epigenetics, it's sort of above genetics, really, what it's talking about. And if you're familiar with any work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, which I highly recommend you look at, he's absolutely incredible on this area of epigenetics. What we've found is that even if you have a genetic disposition to something like, well, some sort of mental health thing or physical thing, or through hereditary, that can be changed, absolutely can be changed. And that's a really interesting topic in itself. So highly recommend you check him out. It's really good stuff. That was said in my family too, it's hereditary, blah, blah. And I mean, through my reading too, there's, oh goodness, you read a lot of these experts, and they say a lot of things that sort of don't make a lot of sense, or kind of contradict themselves later on. Yet everybody lauds them as being, they know what's going on. They don't. They don't, because they haven't shown the fruits of what they're saying, in a lot of things. And I mean, a lot of these experts say that it's all biological. The brain, it's all going on in the brain. It's all just chemicals and things like that need to be adjusted. And I'm not saying there's not a part of that, but again, I think there's symptoms, and we got to get to the root causes of these things. So For instance, if you've got something in your mind, your subconscious mind, and it's very, very, say, traumatic, and it's playing around, it's playing out through you, well, it's going to have a physiological effect on your body. It's going to create all these problems within you. So we've got to get down there. What's going on inside of there? And some people will say, oh, it's just beliefs, and that's very important because there are a lot of beliefs that we hold that create that. But what I have discovered, and again, you might call this belief because I haven't had enough time to really test this out, but it's I'm not the only one, mind you. There's other people who talk about this in different ways. That it's the emotions. Okay, so in a sense, the thoughts are kind of one of the later things that happen. Everything's sort of tied in together. But let's say you have a traumatic experience as a child, whatever that is, and also, well, we'll just talk about those things for now, traumatic. So something will happen, your perception will see something or experience something, whether it was a genuinely very traumatic thing that happened to you, which is true, that happens to a lot of people, or a perceived one, because that happens too. I can, that's another thing to get into, but so then you'll have a reaction to that. You'll have a reaction, and there'll be an emotional response to it. So it might be fear. It could be an anxiety type thing. It could be doubt or shame or guilt, or there's a myriad of things. So you have this emotional thing, but it won't just be that. Then you'll have this thought, these programs around that, thinking this happened, therefore, and then you'll fill in the gaps. It means this. And now it doesn't mean it means that. It's a subjective experience. You're saying that that's what that means, right? And as a child, particularly, you're very susceptible to just accepting whatever comes into your life, into your mind, even your own thoughts, or because you don't have the ability between the ages of 0 and 7 to make analytical decisions, because your brain's in a theta wave state. Okay, that's really really interesting how that works. So that's why we've got to be very careful with children between the ages of 0 and 7. All right. So then what happens is you get the emotion then attached to the belief or the program, and then other ones will just start coming from that. Okay, as time goes on, so you'll start to create this massive array of things. And if there's something like this happens again, twice or 3 times, boy, you have really locked that in. You really believe that now, and it's locked into the system big time. And a lot of things can happen with this as you become an adult. Now, firstly, going back to what that guy said about the subconscious locking things in, I can see what he means by this, because if you're in an age of between 0 and 7 and you don't have the analytical abilities to process the information that has just happened to you, these events, this trauma, you're going to store that away. But as an adult, now it's time you got to deal with it. It's really only there, in my opinion, to save you that time as a child, but you need to come back and revisit it later. And this is where a lot of problems are, because healing the mind is not a fun process at a lot of the time. It's painful. It is painful. And that's why I'm not into the medication route. It's like, well, we don't really know what to do with you. Here, let's stuff it down some more with these drugs. Well, you haven't healed anything. What have you done? You've done nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. When you just keep taking medicines, how is that? What have you really resolved? Nothing. It's like they just wash their hands with you. So, well, we don't know. Pop some pills. I'm not into it. I've been down that route. I got fat. I got sick. I got worse. And I'm very vocal about that. That I'm not into it. Okay, if it's helping you, great. I'm not telling you not to do it, but I think what we need to do is we've got to go through. We've got to revisit the pain of our lives. And a lot of people don't want to do it. I can tell you from experience, it's not a fun road a lot of the time. And I had to do it by myself because there was no one to give me a pathway to how to do it. Okay. And as I said, as well-meaning as the psychologists are too, again, they're really only looking at beliefs, but we've got to get deeper than that. We've got to get to the emotional aspects. And then we've got to release this stuff from our mind. So it's not just becoming aware of it. We've got to find out so many things that we believe about ourselves, for starters. It's a lot of work. I can tell you, it's a lot of work. It's not always, I wouldn't say it's hard. You actually, it's quite an amazing experience through doing it. because as you make one realization, you'll start to notice all these little, sort of things that tie in. This makes sense now. Oh, now I understand why I did this, or this. It's quite amazing. It's quite liberating in a way in that sense. But it does take a lot of time. And when I say it's a lot of work, it doesn't mean you try and do it all in one day. I mean, I used to go pretty heavy on that stuff and find out as much as I could and try and work things out with inside myself. And it can take, the method I was using was very time consuming. However, it was very effective as well. And that was only one aspect to getting better. So anyway, going back to the initial thing of this about not pathologizing yourself, saying I am this or that, it's not helpful because you get into a state of mind thinking, well, this is what I am. But you're not that. And the thing is too, is that for most people that I've spoken to, the feelings or the experiences of, whether depression or anxiety or, related type things, they didn't have it when they were 5 years old. I mean, I know the sort of saying that can happen now, but most people that didn't have it then, didn't have it when I was 10 years old, started in 10 years. And I guess this is tying into a little bit about that aspect of the subconscious starting to release things. Well, perhaps this is the time where it starts to open up a little bit. And there's a lot of confusion in the teen years too, because the hormones are going wild and there's peer pressure and all of this stuff. We have an unhealthy society, and we see that through, the number of increased suicides in teens, okay, which is very unfortunate, of course. But I think we're going about it completely the wrong way. And also, we're not looking at things from a holistic point of view. And that is, to mean, that we don't just look at the mind, but we look at also environmental factors. What are you eating? And what are you consuming in terms of media? Those things really affect you as well. And look, there's a number of other things, and again, it's in my book, and you can download it for free down below. Again, if you want to support me, that'd be great. You can purchase it for only a few dollars. Anyway, it'll be down in the description. But the thing is too, you need to take charge in your own life, right? Going to any therapist, I'm all for it. If someone's helping you, great, go for it. But if they're not, also know to go, because people get locked into things thinking, well, I've made this relationship with this person now, and I turn up every week or however long. And that's, look, you're not looking for a friend, really. I know it's nice to feel that safety and security, but you're looking for someone to help you, guide you to become better. And I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of the time in this field that doesn't happen. People go on years and years and years seeing the same person with no improvement, none, zero. And it's, look, I've got a lot to say about that, an opinion about that, but I'm quite strong about that actually, but probably won't say that right now. But anyway, I don't think it's a very, very good thing to be doing to somebody. I think you should give someone a rough time frame of how much time you could try to see how it can help you, and there should be some sort of way of gauging that how that assistance helping you. But what I was going to say beyond that was that you need to take charge of your own life. You do, you absolutely do. And this is a big problem. People think, I'll just turn up here and I'll do some therapy of talking of some kind, and maybe learn a few little skills, and look, there are some good tools and stuff like that. I'm not against anything that's helping you. It's different for everybody, for sure. If it's helping you, great, wonderful. But there's a lot of people it's not. That's what I'm getting at. But you need to take action. You need to take major action, okay, in your own well-being. Because essentially you're not locked into this idea, this personality of who you say you think you are, such as, I am this particular mental health issue or whatever it is. The other thing too, when I say illness or disorder or anything like that word, well, if it's an illness, it means you can get better. If it's a disorder, well, let's order it. And essentially that's what I have realized over the years, is that this thing with a lot of mental health stuff is a total disorder of the mind and the thoughts and the beliefs. It's a lot of things. It's the mind, isn't it? I mean, you think about that. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with mind. There are aspects of brain sometimes too, with physical brain impairment. That is a little different. But most other things can be worked on. They can be worked on and changed to some degree. And look, I know some people have some pretty heavy stuff, and I'm not saying it's not possible, but as I said, the route to recovery is not always an easy one. It's not. And, you know, sometimes it's like why the title of my book is The Way Out is Through the Way In. Well, that's it. You got to go back through all the stuff in one way or another to get out again, because you got in there a certain way through traumas. Most of it's through trauma, and you got to get back out again. So, and you got to revisit that, not as a child anymore, or when that happened. And a lot of the time too, traumas don't always happen just as a child. I want to touch on that. They can happen at any age. Well, that's a very vulnerable time though in the growing up, development time. So that's something we just, need to do, is work through things. Look, I'm probably going to leave this here. Hopefully it's been helpful to some degree to you. But I just want you to know that you aren't the things you're experiencing. Okay, you're just experiencing these things, and you can work towards improving these things, improving your life, and becoming a different version of yourself. And I've realised that too, that you can actually become a different version of yourself. Absolutely, a greater ideal of yourself. Absolutely can, and it's possible. So all these other misconceptions about that, they are just that. They're also belief systems that have been put in you. No, that's not possible. Well, look, here I am, flesh and blood, telling you from personal experience, I have done it. And I have read about other people doing the same thing with the same conditions. And it's obviously very possible, because here I am, many years, no medications, no relapses or anything like that. So it's absolutely possible. But again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It requires effort and it requires work. And I will do some follow-up videos. And please write to me if you have questions, and perhaps I can follow up with more detail about something that you have a question about and share with others. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. I've got to get going anyway, looking at the time. So thanks again for watching. And if you do like, please like the video and share it or subscribe. And not because it's so much for myself about monetary things or anything like that, but I understand that the algorithm with YouTube, that the more people like things and do all those sort of subscribe things, it moves it up in the ranking. And look, if you do find it of value, you only do it if you find this video of value, of course. But it may help someone else find it a little easier amongst all of the plethora of videos on similar topics. So anyway, have a great day, everybody.